It came as a complete surprise to the nation and its politicians, as British Prime Minister Theresa May announced her snap decision.
I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June.
It was something May had repeatedly said she wouldn't do, saying the UK needed a period of calm and stability to be strong in Brexit negotiations. But now it seems those same reasons are what changed her mind.
Every vote for the Conservatives will make it harder for those who want to stop me from getting the job done. Every vote for the Conservatives will make me stronger when I negotiate for Britain with the European Union.
For some, this snap election isn't being seen as a step for the good of the country, but for opportunistic party advantage. The latest opinion polls give the ruling Conservatives a commanding lead. An average of 5 published in April puts the Tories on a little under 43%, and the main opposition party, Labour, on a little over 25%. In some polls, the Tories' lead has been more than 20 percentage points, and show Labour on track to see its number of MPs reduced by almost a third.
Clearly she sees the opportunity, given the total disarray in the ranks of the Labour Party, to crush all opposition to her, to get rid of people that disagree with her, and to give herself a free hand to take the country in the increasingly right-wing direction that she wants to take it in.
But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn welcomed the election, promising to prove the establishment wrong and not play by its rules.
It is these rules that have allowed a cosy cartel to rig the system in favour of a few powerful and wealthy individuals.
Parliament overwhelmingly approved the election, and campaigning has already begun, with the Conservatives feeling confident of a big win. But as recent elections and referendums have shown, the polls can be deceiving. So will Theresa May's play of striking while the opposition appears weak pay off? Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss this, I'm joined now from London by Crispin Blunt, who's a Conservative Member of Parliament and the Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. And also in London, Labour Party activist Lee Jasper. He was an advisor to the former London Mayor, Ken Livingstone. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Crispin, snap election, is this the opportunity to kick Labour while it's down?
Well, the strange thing is, I think this is part of Labour's recovery, this process. They were going to have to go through an election under Jeremy Corbyn. It certainly looked to me either now or in 2020. And this gets their Jeremy Corbyn election out of the way. I think if you were to look at this strategically, and the recovery process of the Labour Party to be an electable force again with a chance of becoming the government of the United Kingdom will begin the day after the general election. That's my assessment. So by calling this election, it wasn't in the Conservatives' long-term interest to get this election done. It would have been better to leave Labour swinging in the wind for another 3 years and taking more of the pain of their own internal battle. But it's in the national interest that we have a Prime Minister who's got the strength to be able to do whatever deal she deems in the national interest around Brexit, right, which is the most important issue facing the country over the next couple of years.
Okay, Lee, so there was a bit of shade thrown there. This is part of your recovery. You have to hit rock bottom by losing in order to recover. Is this bad for you guys?
Well, I think that all political parties' fortunes wax and wanes. That's part of the great narrative of British politics. So there's no surprise there. But I do think that people are woefully underestimating the Labour Party's performance in this election. I think that what we've seen today is already great popular support for the kind of policy positions being set out by John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn. And we already see a drop from 21 points to 18 points in the popularity of the Prime Minister. So I think that in a world as turbulent as this is, it would be a very foolish pollster or political analyst that would lay any bets. I think events can make a huge difference. I still think that people are underestimating the extent to which an effective ground war and strategy can cut through and reach home in terms of some of the hard-pressed lives that people on middle and low incomes in this country are actually enduring and suffering. I think that is underestimated, and I think 7 years of austerity will see the Labour Party do much more effective a job than is being predicted.
OK, and those are some of the issues that are going to be debated in the build-up to the election. But Crispin, the Prime Minister, does not want to do televised debates. Tell me why.
Well, that's obviously a decision for her. And there are arguments for and against it. If your Prime Ministers usually don't want to, and if they feel they're in a weak position, sometimes they will concede that, as Gordon Brown did in the 2010 election. And frankly, but she's in such a strong position and she's such a strong candidate vis-a-vis the others, it frankly wouldn't matter if she did. But she's got to make her call about whether or not that's an appropriate way of campaigning. And anyone who saw Prime Minister's questions yesterday, where one was almost feeling sorry. Well, I was feeling sorry for the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn. He's so outclassed, and with such difficulty behind him, that it was a really awful experience. And I'm not sure I would inflict those television debates on people anyway, out of their own interest of the watching public.
Crispin, tell me...
And mercy for Jeremy.
Yeah, but tell me why those who might be on the fence should trust the Prime Minister, given that she said she would not call for an election and now she has.
Well, the decision to call an election will have been one taken because of her assessment of the national interest around her hand in negotiating the UK leaving the European Union. It's going to be a very difficult negotiation to get home. And I think she was convinced by the arguments that she don't want to have this concluded in 2019 with the prospect of a UK general election breathing down her neck and the positioning she's going to have to take for that, and also the authority she would or not have in the current House of Commons and House of Lords without a refreshed mandate to do whatever deal is necessary in the British interest with our 27 European Union partners. And knowing her, it will have been those arguments that would have been conclusive with her. I think if this was just about the politics in the UK, we could have let this run and allow Labour's long night of the soul to continue for another 3 years. And as I said earlier, I think this will accelerate the prospect of recovery for the Labour Party in the medium to long term. But for her, it would have been the national interest that would have decided that she needed a stronger mandate and a negotiating position with our 27 partners.
Lee, doesn't that sound reasonable? She needs a refreshed mandate and she needs to be in a stronger position to negotiate the pretty tough negotiations with the European Union, get Article 50 done and out of the way, and sort this out with a renewed mandate. It sounds pretty reasonable.
It does, except it masks a cynical attempt by the Conservative Party to place party political interest over national interest. We think that certainly you asked a question about Theresa May and the TV debates. It is with remarkable hubris come to mind when I listen to Crispin, because according to him, their deal's done, the horses have crossed the finish line, and they're perfectly confident in their leader. I think anybody who avoids TV debates, particularly in a 21st century, is almost an analog politician in a digital world. I think that it's remarkable she's not prepared to face Jeremy Corbyn on the other matter of preparing ourselves for the Brexit elections. Well, of course, the numbers in the House of Lords won't change as a consequence of a general election. In any event, I think that this description of meeting this sort of rugged constitutional resistance in both the upper and lower house is frankly rubbish. She got a massive endorsement from the House of Commons for Article 50, and despite what's being said about the House of Lords, they were pretty tame, in my view, in relation to what they were seeking, really just a bit of reporting back, if you please, on the deal. So I think she's overblown that, and I think what we're seeing is a Tory party that has placed its own party narrow sectional self-interest above that of the wider community, wider nation in relation to the approach to Brexit. Yes, we do need to be in a stronger position in relation to Brexit, but we don't do that by sabre-rattling to our European partners. We don't do that by leaving a question mark over European citizens and using them as a cynical bargaining chip. And this Prime Minister should be called the Queen of U-turns, because she spins round in 360 degrees on key policy statements where she's absolutely adamant about the direction of travel, and within 48 hours you can be heading in another direction.
Okay, so let me ask you, Crispin, the fact that Lee used the word hubris, he feels that you guys are treating this as a foregone conclusion. We saw the Remain camp do that before Brexit. It can come back to bite you in the backside. Are you aware of that, or are you taking this victory for granted?
Yeah, of course we are, and that's the big. No, that's the big danger to the Conservative Party, is the position looks so strong and our leader looks so convincing compared to the potential alternatives that we might think this is a done deal. Of course it isn't. The electorate has a choice to make on the 8th of June, and the points Lee was making about the volatility of politics today is an important one, and we shouldn't discount the fact that the media will want a race, and they will, in that sense, be coming to the aid of the leader of the opposition parties, or the leaders of the opposition parties in Jeremy Corbyn and Tim Farron, to try and give them a platform, to try and make this look as though it's going to be a bit more competitive. And they may find their wind during the course of this campaign. And the Conservative Party has got to put its case to the country. It's a very strong case to put to the country, both economically and in terms of the negotiation over Britain's future relationship with our European Union partners. But we've got to make that case and not assume that it's a done deal. I couldn't agree more.
OK, Crispin Blunt and Lee Jasper. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Good to talk to both of you.